Like the changes or not, Raven has been on fire when it comes to describing changes they make within their updates, and today is no exception. There are quite a few changes that are gameplay shifting changes. Perhaps one of the biggest updates we've seen in terms of that in quite some time for Warzone. Today we're going to break down everything that changed here with the mid-season update or Season 3 Reloaded, 80s Action Heroes event, whatever you want to call it, in Warzone, and all the new content that comes along with it. So as we go along, do me a favor if you can help appease the YouTube algorithm gods. If you can drop a comment down below what's your favorite change so far, let me know down there. Drop a like if you guys enjoyed the video, maybe share it to a friend, and also if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 500,000 subscribers, and we'll keep the video with everything you need to know in relation to Warzone and anything COD related. There is a lot to talk about, so not only over the next couple of days, you don't want to miss it, but let's jump into what's new here in this update. So let's start out with Warzone, because that's the update that we got here tonight. Black Ops Cold War is a lot of timed content. We'll breeze through that later on in the video, but tonight's update itself was actually for Warzone. So what's that looking like? If you're on PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 4, it'll run you about 14.6 gigabytes. On Xbox X, S, and One, it'll be 15.2 gigabytes, and if you're on PC, it'll be 14.9 gigabytes for Warzone only, and if you have Modern Warfare installed on top of that, it'll be 18.1 gigabytes for Warzone and Modern Warfare. So a decent update size, but nothing absurd like we saw compared to last year. But let's talk about the content itself that comes along with it. Firstly, of course, we have the new event loading screen that you'll be prompted with when you load up the game for the first time, and of course, you'll end up seeing new event challenges. There's gonna be 18 challenges total, 2 sets of 9 for Cold War and Warzone. If you complete all 9 Cold War challenges, you'll get a Type 63 blueprint, and if you complete all 9 Warzone challenges, you'll end up getting a Pellington blueprint. This will be around for a limited time, so make sure you jump in and complete these if you at all care about that exclusive reward at the end there. Of course, also we see the introduction of the new operators of Rambo and John McClane. Both of these available via bundles in the shop, and these are only available for a limited time. If you want them, you'll have to pick them up before June 18th at 9 p.m. Pacific time, which is kind of interesting given that the season goes until the 20th, so why it doesn't just end when the season ends is kind of beyond me. But anyways, the Rambo bundle will come with an operator, 2 finishing moves, 3 legendary blueprints, a calling card, emblem, watch, and charm, and that diehard John McClane bundle will come with the operator, a finishing move, 3 blueprints, a calling card, emblem, watch, and weapon charm. Now, if you would like to support the channel a little further and decide to pick up either of these packs, it's entirely optional, but you can use code ESPRESSO in the in-game item shop in that support a creator functionality. Don't feel pressured at all to do so or anything, but if you'd like to help with the channel a little bit further, this is a great way to do so. If you ever do, tweet me a picture, and I'd love to shout out some of your generous support like Frosty, Novman, Coney, and Sirius have in the past. Tremendously thankful for the continued support, so let me know if you pick up anything. Jumping into the in-game contents, we see new points of interest within Warzone. These are, of course, limited time, so they're not going to be here for the rest of the lifespan of Verdansk 84. This is likely to be staying around here until the end of season, so right up until the Season 4 update. I would imagine if there's going to be something that removes all 80s Action Heroes stuff, it would be that 18th, like when the bundles go away, so just bear that in mind. These aren't going to be there forever, but they'll be around for a couple of weeks here. But we see Nakatomi Plaza, where Skyscraper was in Verdansk. This is now thematically reskinned and offers more levels of play, which is available here, and it's likely going to be a hot drop since it's the main one here that we have, and also there's a bunch of challenges you can activate and do in there for in-game and account loot. There's going to be survival camps found around Verdansk, there's a few of them, and also the CIA outpost in the northwest sector of the map, which is a new hangar that's been converted to a makeshift CIA outpost. Now, from a technical standpoint, there's actually a lot of stuff here that we want to talk about, and that's honestly where a bulk of these big changes come into play. Firstly, stopping power was something that was adjusted here, in which the spawn rates were reduced substantially as it stated, and personally I would have been okay if they completely removed stopping power, but I think this is a step in the right direction, so I'm glad to see it being combated slightly. Then we also saw that Gunsmith Customs was introduced here, allowing for the Frankenstein builds of weapons like we had with the ability to do in Modern Warfare with Modern Warfare weapons in Warzone, and as well recently within Cold War as well. The combat bow killstreak was added to BR, Plunder, and Power Grab, the new mode here that we'll talk about in just a second. And also to round out sort of these technical changes like this, they ended up saying that we'll be making an important adjustment to the solo BR modes in the very near future. Keep an eye out on Twitter for more. Now, if I were to guess, this is going to be a change either in adjusting or completely removing the Berthas from solos, given that how much they are a crutch in that area of play. You toss on a trophy system to the Berthas, and you have literally a mobile tank. So it's something that has been plaguing solo modes for quite some time, and I would imagine that is finally going to be changed out. In terms of bug fixes, there were a bunch here, so not to go over all of them, but notably there's two in particular that really stand out. There are fixes to the out-of-bounds areas, like in Stadium, so hopefully no more glitch spots there, and also there were changes to the Great Pacific XM4 blueprint, which the stats did not match the base of the XM4, which blueprints aren't supposed to add statistical variance to the weapon itself, but you could for a while. I think it was cheesing the fire rate, in which it had a better fire rate than the base weapon, so that's been adjusted and fixed out as well. But perhaps one of the biggest changes, though, in terms of this update is the weapon and attachment tuning we saw. There's some major changes here for this one. In terms of weaponry, there were only a few that were directly changed. The AK-74U was one of those, and that had some interesting changes here, in which the neck multiplier was increased from 1 to 1.4, the sprint to fire speed was increased by 20%, so seemingly making it a little better, but at the same time we had the bullet velocity decreased by 15%, and that maximum damage range decreased by 20%, so trying to reel this back in and make it more so a closer quarter weapon exclusively. The PPSH also had some changes here, in which the maximum damage was increased from 27 to 28, and the maximum damage range was increased by 3.8%. With their reasoning is that they wanted this to be on the brink of being able to contest as one of the strongest SMGs. As for snipers, all of their base optics have been adjusted, which is kind of interesting to me, but then we also saw individual changes to each of these snipers as well, with the Sniper Rifle Charlie or the M82 having the bullet velocity increased by 14%, the extremity multipliers increased from 0.9 to 1, so you do base damage here across the board now for even the furthest of the hitboxes. The rate of fire was also then decreased from 0.33 to 0.83. The LW3 Tundra had its aiming stability increased, the Swiss K31 had its flinch resistance greatly increased, the ADS speed increased slightly, and the aiming stability increased as well. And finally, the ZRG 20mm had a bunch of things changed here, in which the bullet penetration was increased, the upper torso multiplier was increased from 1.25 to 1.7, the lower torso multiplier increased from 1.15 to 1.25, the extremity multipliers increased from 0.9 to 0.1, dealing base damage, the ADS speed decreased by 4%, the bullet velocity decreased by 2%, the move speed decreased by 2%, and the ADS move speed decreased by 1%. So making this definitely a weapon that is high powered, but also not something you want to take if you're somebody that likes to play aggressive. You're not going to be able to quick scope here with this. This is for those that hunker down and like to take out either vehicles or maybe blow their enemies to bits. As for attachments, though, this is where it really gets interesting. We saw things like the flash guard adjusted, where the vertical recoil control was increased slightly, but the one that really gets me is the suppressor, because this now no longer reduces bullet velocity and now increases bullet velocity while also increasing ADS speed and the sprint to fire speed. This one to me is rather interesting because it may become a new meta attachment, one that may even be a crutch. Now, for Cold War weapons at least, this, as described, seems to offer up a new mid-lane niche for suppressors. By offering up bullet velocity and ADS, to me, this is the perfect close-range attachment now. I'd imagine, without testing it, so I'm not 100% sure that this is right and accurate, I'd imagine this is right in between the base weapon bullet velocity and the agency or GRU suppressor's bullet velocity. A mid-ground there where you don't get as much in terms of bullet velocity increases, but you gain handling and mobility, which is huge, while also keeping you off the radar. And for an SMG or rifle kitted out for mobility, that is game-changing. So to me, this has huge implications in aggressive styles of play. So keep an eye out. We may be breaking this down a little further, but you may want to put this on some of your classes. A ton of lasers now are also on the map for sniping, giving Cold War snipers a decent leg to stand on now, in which the SOF target designator for snipers no longer increases effective damage range, but increases aiming stability and the ADS move speed multiplier. The Ember sighting point for snipers no longer increases effective damage range, but now greatly increases aiming stability and has that ADS move speed multiplier increase, so a step up from that SOF target designator. The steady aim laser on snipers now no longer decreases hip spread, but now increases ADS speed. And that 5 milliwatt laser on snipers again no longer decreases hip spread and no longer decreases ADS speed, and instead increases aiming stability and greatly increases the ADS speed. Again, a step up from that steady aim laser. The airborne and GRU elastic wraps now also had their aiming stability increased. So quite a hefty number of changes and things that definitely will change some of the metas and how you kit out some of your weapons. So this was, even though it may not seem like a lot, a pretty big patch when it comes to Warzone weapon tuning and the meta. Now, finally, on the Warzone side of things, we do have things like your playlist being added in that are brand new. We have Power Grab. This was kind of mini Royale-esque, in which you can drop in, loot, and find dog tags, and collecting dog tags will let you work your way up the reward ladder with things like a UAV, a respawn token, all the way up to even things like specialist bonus and other items. The catch, though, the zone is smaller. There's a flag that you need to control in the final zone to call the exfil chopper, and there's no gulags, so be careful while you're out there. That's also available to play in addition to solos, duos, trios, and quads, Rebirth Resurgence trios, and Plunder quads. But that is the update here that we had on the Warzone side of things. But jumping over briefly to the Cold War items that weren't live by the time we talked about this as of yesterday. We, of course, have the new maps of Standoff and Duga, Standoff being the classic that you remember. This, I'm honestly excited to play this one. It's one of my personal favorite maps in COD history, and even though it's not yet in the competitive rule set, man, do I hope they put this in like they did with Express. I'd love to see a Standoff Hardpoint or SND like the glory days back in Black Ops 2. But if you've been around since then, you'll remember everything how it was, and for that, I'm pretty happy. Duga, this is a new fire team and multi-team map here centered around the array as we saw in Outbreak. It'll be interesting to see how this one plays out in the new modes like multi-team elimination, among others. If you're familiar with this in Outbreak, you've got a leg up on your enemies who may be dropping in for the very first time. And new modes of Die Hardpoint, which is basically like Cranked and Hardpoint had a baby, but your explosive timer doesn't go down when you're playing the objective, so pretty nice in that regard. Multi-team elimination is also here, in which that's limited respawns, scavengeable loot only, no loadouts or custom classes, an exfil chopper to get in to end the game while avoiding the expanding radiation zone. If that sounds familiar, well, it's kind of like the Battle Royale here within Cold War, partially Blackout 2.0. So jump in while you still can and have a good time with that. Standoff 24/7 is introduced for those that want to play on the new map in the 6v6 format, and also 12v12 is continuing on with new additions of Standoff, the Pines, and Moscow. We, of course, talked about the changes to weapons, technical changes, and a ton of zombies content that we covered yesterday, so if you guys want to check that out in detail, check that video out, but to save you guys the time, we won't go over that. But that said, that's essentially the update here with it and everything that changed along with it in both Warzone and, of course, Cold War to an extent with some of that newer content. So that's where we're going to wrap it up. I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. What are you guys liking so far the most out of this mid-season update? Anything in particular that really strikes you as pretty awesome? Maybe not so much. Whatever it is, feel free to let me know your thoughts. But hopefully enjoy the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like down below. And, of course, if you're new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Warzone, Cold War, and anything COD related. We're going to have a lot of stuff relating to everything with this coming over the course of the next couple of days. Some things you may have missed, some Easter egg tutorials and things like that. So stick it here on the channel if any of that interests you. If you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. Probably live on both those. If you guys want to straight up conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. That said, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.